All right, welcome everyone. This is Mark Kapczynski, CMO of Gooden, and we're following up on our Gooden Executive Leadership Series. Today, we have my dear friend Tasso, who's the CEO and co-founder of Number AI. Tasso, welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and a little bit about your company, and we're going to dive right in on this.
Sure. Hey, Mark, good to connect. I'm glad you reached out. So as you said, I'm the founder and CEO of Number AI. Very interesting how I kind of got into this business. When I was actually, I'd like finished working at my previous company and was kind of running around trying to start another company. And my wife asked me at the time to help her out with a home remodel. She's like, you can't use this entrepreneur BS on me anymore because you're actually out of work right now. So you have plenty of time to help me. So we're doing a home remodel and she tells me, you're going to be responsible for dealing with all the vendors. So
Oh boy.
the person and the guy who sold us the appliances. And I found myself being kind of working in a very kind of digital Slack, messaging oriented environment. Typically is how I got my work done, email. I found myself on the phone with these folks, leaving voicemails about precise parts numbers. And I'm like, this is kind of, such a horrible way for me to be interacting with all of these like small and medium businesses. And that's where the genesis of what Number AI came up with, which is, these businesses, the best way for them to interact is in a digital and real-time way. So rather than like leaving voice messages that we don't return, how about I kind of message you with my question and you message me back with a picture of the dishwasher that you're going to come and install. And how about we kind of coordinate with other people, including the contractor, via messaging rather than, via phone call, which is, very likely to fail.
So how did the remodel work out? That's what I really want to know.
It was still a pain in the butt. It was still like all home remodels.
Did it get finished?
It got finished,
Okay.
many months late, like cooking out of the garage. And there was like, of course, the natural mix-ups with, certain like the flooring coming before the painting and all that kind of stuff. So
brutal.
It was as expected there.
Well, it seems like at least it turned out to something positive, and you were able to found a great business, and you guys have been able to raise some venture capital funding from some great VCs, including Google's AI fund, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So the Number AI, what's the problem that you're really trying to solve for? What are you really trying to do there?
It's actually really simple. For small and medium-sized businesses, turns out they miss about 2/3 of the calls that come in from customers. So the use of Number AI is actually to rescue those customers. That is the real problem that we're solving. So you're missing 60% of your phone calls. What if you could text that customer back and saying, hey, hold on, don't leave me. Don't go and order your restaurant order somewhere else. Don't like make your spa appointment somewhere else. How about we use some technology, some artificial intelligence in many cases, to actually process what you want via messaging. And what we see is that, we are able to rescue 50% of these calls, which businesses find invaluable. So it's really about, like, in today's world, people are still calling these businesses, and I don't want you to miss out on those customers.
That's great. So what do you think, or how would you phrase like the purpose of Number AI? Like what's your reason for being then?
I think for us, it is to help small and medium businesses who are challenged in having the technology architecture to compete with like the big folks, whether it's the big chains on the retail side, like a Target, or the e-commerce players like Amazon. So enabling them, these are like typically small, like kind of the backbone of America, obviously these Main Street businesses, entrepreneurs with kind of dreams, helping them just be operationally more efficient and be competitive, not missing out on customers, having better customer service, and using our technology to allow them to catch up, or at least play keep up with some of the bigger, better funded companies.
It's got to be a challenge of working with those small, medium-sized businesses because, like you said, they don't really have necessarily the technology prowess or even the inclination to really deal with some very advanced things here. So, how does your solution work for them, and how do you make their lives easy?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a great point, which is, there are sometimes technically not very invested. That's
Yeah.
a double sword. There's goods and bads with that. Obviously, we have to make the product very self-serve for them. So it can't be something where we have salespeople spending multiple hours. And with a more self-serve model, we're able to keep the price low, which is more advantageous to them. The
Right.
fact that they don't have deep technology investments into like Salesforce systems and some of the other more convoluted, or deeper kind of ERP system is actually a benefit because we can get them deployed within hours. You get up and running on the service within hours. We'll take your phone.
Really?
We'll kind of provision your voicemail. We'll kind of take that over for you, and we're able to do that. So I think the key thing is for us to best articulate for each particular vertical of these Main Street businesses how we're helping them with their business. How it's not about technology. It's about helping you out, and that's kind of a hard message.
So how do you look at the market? Are there specific verticals that are natural for you to work in? And if so, which are those?
Yeah. So some of them we expected, and some of them we kind of were surprised with, as all these things always, as the journey always yields. So some industries that we actually we're expecting were salons and spas. So they're very much about kind of an appointment schedule and all, but also the things like, hey, this is a hairstyle I found on Google. I do a screenshot and I send it to my stylist, and we can have an exchange back as to how much it would cost to do that. So we see those kinds of exchanges as well. And
That's
so
cool.
that salon, so salon industry is a very very good one for us. They're looking for this kind of after hours. I want to make an appointment. I want to reschedule. So that's one. Home services as well. You can think about somebody who's a plumber who's in the middle of a job and can't pick up the phone. If we can pick it up for them, make an appointment, or get the prospective customer some information, that's kind of very valuable to them. And then we had some surprising ones actually. So and I'll give you kind of a couple quick examples. One is automotive. So auto repair and dealers are kind of craving for this kind of product because they get thousands of calls with like an update. Hey, what's the status of my repair? When can I bring it in? What do I need to do now? So we found that to be kind of interesting. And then
that seems like a notoriously poor customer service business too. So I think that could really help.
Yeah. And the CSAT scores are very kind of impactful here. Like the vast majority of auto dealers are typically run by folks who come from the sales side. The services side is massively underinvested in from a just from a technology and from a customer support perspective, because the real Jews come from the salespeople. So they're giving me these kinds of solutions. And interesting, another one, which is real estate. So we have like leasing agents or people who own multifamily property units. And those leasing agents are out showing units. They're missing 2/3 of their calls as well. So you don't want to miss a prospective tenant. So we can actually help nurture and like capture that lead for them. So very interesting verticals that we help solve.
So what do you think's the one thing that your customers and prospects either don't know about you or sometimes overlook about you and your business?
I think one of the key things is that in addition to helping kind of rescue their customers and help on the phone side, that we're able to add some functionality, which would be kind of an entry level CRM like for them. So hey, this person called, like you didn't, like before they would kind of call, you didn't know who they were, but now you know who they were. You can see an interaction with them where they might be very interested in a specific kind of, in a case of a restaurant, they have the same kind of common kind of an order. And then you're able to see that they're a very good customer. Maybe you want to give them a bottle of wine as a present over the holidays or something. So there's CRM elements that I think our customers discover naturally. And then some other things, like you're also, because you now have a relationship with a customer, you're able to do things like ask them for if they had a good experience with you, ask them for a review on Google or something, and that helps on your reputation as well. So these are things that we see as kind of future R&D.
But it seems like it's almost like an evolution of the old IVR systems, where as people really value personalization, and I don't care about everyone else. I care about my experience with you, and you're now able to tailor those things directly to me versus just here's a generic message for everyone, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think that's cool.
Absolutely. New IVR.
New IVR. There you go. You heard it here. What's the one ask you would have of our community? How can we, as a community, help you, Tasso, in your business?
So here's what I'll say. I think there's potential for, because look, the small and medium-sized business, everything ranging from like the wedding photographer to the Etsy business to the small pop-up shop to the
Yeah.
mom and pop to small chains. There's a common community there, and they're actually hard to access.
Yeah.
So like you have to run kind of like demand gen on Google and Facebook and kind of find vertical groups. It's actually, and I think one of the things that stops venture capitalists from investing in these in SaaS or like technology businesses that help those businesses is the difficulty of acquiring those customers, these merchants, these small and medium sized and Main Street businesses.
It's hard, yeah.
So if there's kind of a community where folks are sharing with each other and we're not competing, but we're actually helping each other out.
Yeah.
I think it's to the benefit. If there was a scalable way to acquire small and medium-sized customers, more technology investment would be made. And as a result, like these businesses would be able to kind of have better tools at their disposal.
It seems like you solve also a challenge where it seems like more and more businesses are pulling their phone number off of like their website because either they don't want the phone calls, or I think like you pointed out, they don't scale to answer all the phone calls. So I think your solution would be great to help those kind of folks with that, provide a more streamlined experience and still do it over or through a phone call or
That's right.
phone experience. So
yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right, well, we'll try to get you dialed in here, Tasso, so that's great. We're going to move to the lightning round. So these are now questions focused more on you and as a leader and as a business founder and operator. So first, most important thing, what was your first job and how old were you?
So my parents were, working class immigrants that we owned our convenience store when I was 7 years old, and I was chief, kind of like stocking the shelves officer.
Did they actually pay you, or it was just paid in food? Whatever you could pocket.
And I wanted to like pocket money just to go out with my friends. To go to the movies, like I would have to ask, and they would like be very cheap about it. But food, room and board.
Room and board. You get your bed tonight. That's funny. So Tasso, I know you're a huge foodie, so I'm really curious about this next question. What's your favorite restaurant and what city is it in?
Yeah, so perhaps not a surprise because of my links there, but for me, it still has to be Chez Panisse in Berkeley. Iconic food, the food that created the organic and farm to table movement. Still amazing, just a special place. I think Alice Waters is very much the Steve Jobs of the restaurant industry and the way she approaches everything with the true craftsmanship. So I still think it's the number one place that I visit, especially in America.
Well, I remember the time you took me there, and I'll concur. It was a pretty special lunch. So I'll definitely look forward to maybe meeting you back there one day. Next question. Since we're all sort of locked up inside of sorts, and conferences have been shut down, what conference do you miss going to the most, if any?
Easy question for me to answer, and that's every year I go to Mobile World Congress in Barcelona.
Oh, yeah.
It's an incredible city. So the fact that didn't go last year, hopefully they won't cancel it this year, although it looks likely. That's been a big loss.
Yeah, it's hard to get over that international travel. I mean, that's such a great show. So hopefully they'll keep it going. All right, next question. I think I'm an active user of it, but do you use Lunch Club? And if so, how many meetings have you had?
So I don't, but you did give me the pitch on it. And,
all right, you're gonna have to sign up.
Really good stuff. So I'm definitely gonna hop on it.
It's a great service. You should definitely do it. All right, and then similarly, I don't know if you use Product Hunt, and if so, what's the most interesting product you've discovered on Product Hunt?
So I don't use Product Hunt. I prefer Indiegogo and kind of those kinds of sites, because I prefer, if I'm buying product, there's so much kind of like software product out there.
Yeah.
but I prefer like things that are more hardware based.
Mm.
So the new product that I've gotten, which I'm kind of waiting on, is actually it's kind of a neuro device that you kind of like that allows you to like quantify your focus. So
Okay.
I can be a little bit kind of scattered, or I can procrastinate a little bit. And one of the big things that I want to focus on, I want to work on, is kind of like kind of maximizing the hours that I'm in the hours that I'm working when I'm in the office, rather than like kind of dreaming.
Oh, nice.
So it's an interesting device that it's meant to help with my focus, and that hasn't like that's going to be shipping. I think hopefully by the end of this year, but that's kind of the one that I'm excited about.
Awesome. Oh, you'll have to tell me all about it when you get it. We'll have you back in for that. All right. Next question. Kind of turning to the business side of things. What do you think the hardest lesson you've had to learn in business is?
As a founder, a classic founder mistake, which I made early, but kind of corrected later on, is I think is a very, very important one, which is finding people. If you're if you're the CEO and solo founder, a lot of times people on your team are afraid to tell you the realities of the market. So finding people, and I'm lucky, I'm blessed at my previous company. I had kind of Joel Grossman, who I brought on board, and he's a current founder of my current company. But there's just that no BS, like, hey, let me just tell you, when you do this, this is how people perceive you. Or we went to a customer meeting and like, I think you were too salesy. Or like having that honest feedback and not taking it personally when you're hard charging and sometimes micromanaging, I think is kind of one of the big things as a leader. Not having yes people around you is, I think, a very, very, very. Everyone talks about doing it, but it's hard to do because you need to have some. You need to let your ego go to do that.
That's
That's
great.
great.
That's a
That's
good
a
point.
good point.
All right.
All right.
Next question. What do you think your most important business accomplishment has been?
Well, so in the previous company, Mark, which you kind of helped us out with as well, which we were obviously
Yeah, absolutely.
before, Location Labs. There's a few so the company was kind of kind of a financial success, but I think more importantly for us is the kind of culture and company that we built there. So we had extremely low, and it's kind of been documented on First Round Review how our churn rate was like 2% in an industry, in an environment here in the Valley where churn rates for these kinds of businesses are 20+%. So, and that was very much about, we built like a culture which was a healthy, diverse culture. 70% of our employees were either immigrants or sons and daughters of immigrants. And we were unified behind kind of this resiliency, this underdog grit, and the kind of the team that we fostered. So we were very kind of, we definitely approached the market as like to win, and we were kind of aggressive in a lot of ways, but internally the culture was so strong. And it kind of I still get folks like reach out to me from that company to this very day, it's many years later, about, how they missed that, or they'll like some of the kind of, some of the mantras that we had like repeated on email, and kind of like it continues to live. And there's an entire Slack community of, Illuminati, kind of these kind of, it's kind of a interesting kind of community that we built. And that had that longevity.
I feel like I experienced it because, I was working at Experian when I first met you, and, I just felt a lot of positivity coming out of, meeting you personally. I remember you took me out to dinner the very first time we were meeting when I was up in the Bay Area, and then, meeting your team and everything. I think everyone, was very positive. Like, I know my whole experience in meeting the group was great. So I think that's terrific that you were able to build such a positive culture there. I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment. So that's a great one. All right, final question as we wrap up here. If you could meet one person, dead or alive, who would that be and why?
So I would say that for me, it would be Aristotle Onassis. He's a very interesting guy whose family was a merchant family in what is in Anatolia, what is modern day Turkey, and then when the city Smyrna was on fire, now Izmir, him and his family pretty much had to escape as refugees on boats. He's the ultimate entrepreneur. He first, like not speaking Spanish, moved to Argentina and built a cigarette empire, copying the trend of Rudolph Valentino. And then, when post World War II, there were a bunch of American ships like super tankers, and he used creative methods. When the U.S. was liquidating them, he called the the need for all this gas from America by Americans with the building of the interstate highway, and like became like the biggest supplier of kind of oil with the tanker ships that he. So at one point this is a guy who was like off a boat, started multiple businesses, and became the richest man in the world. And then was just like, in many ways had this kind of bigger than life personality. He was like 5'4", and like, had the biggest yacht in the Mediterranean, and married Jackie O. And just, I mean, if there was somebody who like dreamed big,
Yeah.
And lived it on all aspects of his life. I mean, I think it's him. I think there's a movie actually that Al Pacino is going to be starring in.
Oh, nice.
So we'll see if that ends up being made, but that'll be fun.
Awesome. That's terrific. Well, Tasso, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited about you and your progress with your business. And I obviously wish you all the best of luck as a personal friend, but also as a fellow business executive. Obviously, anything me and my team can do to ever support you, we're here to help. And just it was great to chat with you this morning, as always. For everyone else out there, again, I'm Mark Kapczynski from Gooden. We're going to continue our series. We'll have some other different executives as we go along. And let's just give Tasso another thank you and congrats on your business success, and good luck into your continued progress. So thanks, Tasso.
Thanks for having me on, Mark. Always a pleasure.